Individual stocks, they'll be on our radar. Z Entertainment is one which is in focus as the board will mull fundraise on June 10th. And this will be an interesting one on account of two things. One, they've now been, they've now been appointed as the official broadcasters for the FIFA World Cup, which plays out in India shortly. And then we also have the same time last year, around July 2025, where the announcement of the promoters, investing in the company via convertible options, that was failed by, or rather, the shareholders did not give the required 75% approval for that to go through as well. So all these factors, along with what the stock is likely to do from here on, we'll discuss this further with Abneesh Roy. Abneesh, your thoughts on this fundraise plan? Whether is there any inkling on what it could entail? Would it be external fundraising via institutions? Would it be promoters looking to back the company once again, now that the earlier resolution was not given the minimum vote or go ahead by the shareholders? Your thoughts on the likely course of action when it comes to fundraising? And secondly, the amount that they are likely to pay for the broadcast of FIFA World Cup and the kind of returns that they would get from this.
Sure. Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. Yes, it's an interesting development. When I tie the different developments for Z, clearly they are looking at expanding the total addressable market. So sports has been a missing link. If you remember, Z had in fact exited sports around a decade back, and now they're re-entering. But world has changed in the last 10 years. So clearly monetization, subscription, consolidation in the industry has happened. FIFA 38 properties over the next 8 years. I think it makes a lot of sense from a longer term perspective. The cost is also quite rational, because I think it is 1/3 of what FIFA was looking for. Of course, interest was low because most of the matches will be held in the midnight or early morning. So viewership, my sense is, may not be too much of live audience. Maybe catch-up audience can be there, but I think it's a very affordable costing. And now Z has obviously launched a lot of channels in the sports. It makes a lot of sense long term. Does it make a lot of sense short term? No, I don't think so. Because clearly, as I said, timing is not that appropriate. Plus, football is not cricket, right? Cricket means huge dollars, revenue, etc. But this is low revenue potential, low cost also. Now, coming to your specific question on fundraise, yes, we await for more clarity. We also need to see how minority investors react to all this, because Z has a lot of cash on the balance sheet, right? So is there a real need to just do fund infusion, or is the promoter looking to hike stake? We need to see. Of course, approvals is very important, right? Last time they could not get the approval because of a small gap. Otherwise, they could have scraped through and the promoters could have increased the stake. How do I see the stock near term? The stock has rallied in the last few days, but Q1, Q2 results will be quite challenging, because FMCG companies will cut advertising, because whenever they see any gross margin pressure, the first thing is cut in advertising by FMCG, durable, auto companies. So near-term, clearly results will be challenging. FIFA is a long-term good trigger, but not a short-term trigger.
All right. Hi, Abneesh. Thanks a lot for joining in. Abneesh, but they're sitting on cash, right? I mean, the market cap, I think, is 10,000 crores, and I think around 15-20% is in cash. Update us with that number. And if they have cash, then why are they going ahead? Are they being opportunistic?
You're absolutely right. If you see, the cash levels are quite strong for the company. Company has been doing some kind of a acquisition in the short video format also. So they are doing investments where needed. But yes, they do have a lot of balance sheet strength. So we'll need to get clarity whether it's a acquisition related fundraising, or is it again the promoter, because promoter stake is quite low, right? At that kind of 4% kind of a promoter stake, clearly it's quite low. The pricing has also become quite reasonable. If you remember, the promoters had infused some level of funds into the company around 1.5 years back. The levels are lower than that. So yes, last 5-6 days there is some rally. So yes, we would need to wait for clarity. But yes, you're absolutely right. From a balance sheet position, company is almost having 20-25% of the market cap in cash. So that I don't think is not a low number. So it could be linked to the promoter stake. It could be linked to some big acquisition. But that I think we need clarity, because the board meeting is day after tomorrow.
What's your call on the stock in general then? Because on the one hand, there are a lot of triggers, but on the other, there are a lot of risks as well. So give and take everything. What's your call on the stock right now?
So we have a buy rating, but definitely in the near term, this is a high beta stock. This is a business which will have testing times in Q1, Q2. So someone has to take a 1-year call. Of course, what happens to the fundraise, that is extremely important for the stock. That in the past scenario, when the approval did not come by the minority shareholders, the stock did cool off. The margins have been very volatile. If you see Q4 margins was a shocker for the market on the negative side. I think company needs to come back to a more rational and more predictable margin profile. As I said, Q1, Q2, because advertising will be weak for entire media industry, there is a more negative bias to the margins rather than a positive surprise. So net, this is a 1-year call. This is not a 1-quarter call. But because of all these events, the stock has rallied. So if the minority shareholder approval doesn't come, when we get more clarity on that, the stock could cool off also. So one should take a 1-year call here. We'll prefer more the FMCG companies because Q1 results will be strong for Nestle, Marico, Pidilite, Asian Paints. Those will be preferred over Z in the near term.
All right, so you are positive on FMCG over Z. And in the media space itself, I mean, typically one compares Z to say something like a Sun TV. Do you think the fact that they own an IPL team reduces the downside on Sun TV? Do you have a call there?
Yes, clearly IPL valuation $1.52 billion, which I think most teams are getting. That's positive for Sun TV. The issue is Sun TV, if it monetizes it, then the minority shareholder will get interested. Of course, what we are seeing, Z is more interested in expanding total addressable market. Sun TV, on the other hand, wants to be more conservative, work more on the cash flows, work on the current business rather than expanding TAM. So currently, that's why investor interest in media stocks is quite low. And definitely in the media broader space, we will prefer PVR Saregama over Z, given currently the advertising risk is much higher on broadcasters rather than on Saregama or a PVR. In Saregama, clearly we are seeing that more monetizations drivers are coming into place gradually as we are seeing Amazon, etc., turning more on the pay format rather than just on the freebie. So we'll prefer Saregama and PVR over Z and Sun TV in the near term in the media space.
All right, take that point. Saregama, an interesting one to track when it comes to monetization of their content. PVR, though, you know, what they do with any sort of acquisition that is likely is something that we will be tracking as well. There are reports which are a buzz as well. Good time to then, you know, leave you and then perhaps invite you on another day to track both the consumer and the media space.